Hi, welcome. This is Anya Divine here, and it's the beginning of March 2022, and it's actually the 7th of March today. And I'm watching Maisie in the garden that she doesn't start digging again. I put a blanket over the hole she started. Anyway, I thought I'd come out here because the sun was shining on the studio. It feels like it's suddenly got a lot higher in the sky, and it's shining on the studio and casting beautiful light on the windowsill there. And that's where I've put a little jug of daffodils. Now you can't really see them, look. That's what they look like. And hopefully you'll see a true response to them there on that piece of paper in about 15 minutes. Why did I say the time? Why do I say the time? I think actually I said that because I had the original intention of posting this to Instagram, because and they only post videos that are under 15 minutes. But then I turned it sideways. I managed to find a way to turn the camera sideways, and I think I may as well put this on YouTube now. So anyway, whatever happens, the main thing here is just that I'm glad to be with you and happy to feel like putting a bit of sun on that paper there. Back into my painting clothes. I was going to just carry on with the clothes I was wearing, and I thought, look, Anya, you're wearing your favourite orange jumper, and there is a kind of a thing around destroying everything, you know. So I thought, why don't I get my painting clothes on and actually have a bit more fun and be freer than to make a bit of a mess. But I'm still going to put this sheet over my knees because I want something to really I don't know, I just want it there, because these are old painting trousers, I suppose, and they've got a lot of paint on them already, and it'd be nice to have something clear. So I've got a white sheet, an old white sheet on my knee, something clear that I can see what colours I'm putting on. Well, I don't know what the reason is. Anyway, it's there. Maybe a comfort blanket for my first painting in the studio. My first painting in the studio this year, really. I think that's a true statement. No, I was reaching down there because I thought I might put on. For some reason, I wanted to make the jug out of that, even although it's a blue jug. I'm losing my nerve now somehow. I don't know what that's about. Oh, do you know what Maisie's going to start doing now? There's a big cardboard box out there, and she's going to start, I suspect, she's going to start tearing at it. But she might not, she might not. You know what? Yeah, seeking perfection, isn't that it? He who seeks perfection in everything achieves it in nothing. I'm just going to start. So I've got a few bits and pieces around me here. I mean, how to get the sunshine of those yellows, I don't know if you can even see the yellows really clearly, because they're so bright you can't, I suppose. So bright against the sun. So I'm going to try and establish, like, just put something here that represents that brightness. Yeah, Maisie's dogging into that cardboard box. You can hear it. So we're going to have a whole backing vocals of tearing cardboard. I took it out because I wanted a blocker from going around the back of the garden where all the plants are just starting to come up, you know, the perennials. And I don't want her chasing around. See, I put on too much glue there now, so I'm going to take some of that glue and put it here. That's Erin coming out. It's all happening. She knew. Right, that green I think represents those flowers. It's a bit thick here. This is actually watercolour paper that I painted with, I think it's most kind of ink and stuff one day, and I just kept it in case I would use it for something like this. And I have actually got the inks beside me here too. This is an alcohol ink that might, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. I've got other paper, sure, if I mess up or if I do something that I'm not really happy with, I can always change. Start on another sheet of paper. Let me see now, what about this? Like, that blue jug isn't turquoise, but it's a ghost of, that's okay, actually, kind of like that. And then I've got this acrylic paint that my friend gave me, handmade acrylic paint. It seems to be frozen. It's been in the studio for a while. Cynthia, thanks very much. Acrylic colour, Fine Art Products, Wallace Seymour handmade acrylic paint. I think it's got a kind of a feeling of the yellow. of those, I think they're called narcissi, whatever it is, in the sunlight. So that's kind of the general shape of them there. And then there's the jug, yeah, okay. There's a big glob of that paint now, but I think it's a bit mustardy for it to be too thick. Like if I put it on thickly, it would read as shadow, I suppose. So here and there it might be useful. Yeah, anyway, that's it. In fact, I'm just going to do that. Alright, now. And now what I could do is maybe wipe into it. Oh my goodness me. Every time I lean over, I kind of find something that could be useful. See, normally the light side of the thing would be painted more thinly, so the dark side, I mean, would be painted more thinly. So I'm kind of reluctant to put the writing on the dark side, but then that's weird. Okay, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to start blaming Erin now for distracting me. She's playing with Maisie in the garden. Right. Just take that off. No, it's actually a bit sticky, so I suppose it's an ideal opportunity to put something on there. Why don't I just try some of the Caribbean Blue alcohol ink? Let's see what that's going to do there. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? And then I've got some of this golden high flow acrylic. I wonder what'll that do with it. Nothing much really. Oh. And again, I'm making a lot more of the colour of that now than it really is, so maybe I'll wipe it away again. Something about putting on and taking off seems cathartic at the moment. And finding and losing edges. Okay. Something about the lost and found edge in the sunlight. And I'd say a Payne's grey would be the thing to do behind those daffodils, but I don't know if I want to bring in any grey at all. I think I may want to just enhance the brightness of the yellows. Let's see what I've got here now. I have got some, what's this? Daler-Rowney lemon yellow ink. This is almost finished. Yeah, there's not an awful lot left. In fact, I'd say it might have water in it, so it's probably not going to be the satisfying brightness that I'm after. But let's see. Ah, it's bright, alright. What was that? We've got a sofa in the garden that needs collected. Maisie and Erin are playing on that now. Right, so that's that. I think there's something in the green that needs to occur. Wouldn't you agree? Something needs to happen there. What is it, I wonder? Maybe more of the same. You see there's a flower turning that way. That's the swinging seat that you're hearing. I almost got rid of the swinging seat last week. I woke up and it had been stormy, and you know, now I've just got a new seat for it and a new canopy for the swinging seat, so it would have been a very bad time, to be honest, to be giving it away, because I'd spent 80 quid in the seat, and I actually got a guy to take it away and weld it to get the legs, because he put cuffs on the legs so that they're not rusting, and I don't know how much that was, so I can't remember. And then I got the new canopy for it, the top thing to stop it from, so that it would be waterproof, you know. And then we put it all together when he bought the legs back. Slightly weirdly put back together, actually. Some of it is upside down, but it works. But then one night last week, there was a storm and there was a tear in the canopy. And I just thought, oh, for goodness sake, I don't want to be... I was at that kind of, do you ever get kind of despondent about things? And I just thought, look, I can't be bothered repairing something else or having another job to something else to maintain along with children and dogs and all the rest of it. So I thought, look, I'll see if the men's shed would take it. There's a men's shed in Pennycook and they're great. They kind of take stuff and do it up and give it away to charity and stuff. So I got in touch with them and sent them the images of it and everything, because it was torn, and I knew if I left it a few more days it would only get more torn, and the whole thing, it would sicken me even more, like that, the fact that I bought this new cover and then it was just tearing because a piece of the roof had come away and torn the canopy. Gosh, this is exciting conversation, isn't it? But there's an amazing crescendo, so stay tuned. Not really. Anyway, the guy said, "Oh, can you send me a photo?" And I sent him the picture, and he said, "Look, unfortunately, we don't have space for it at the moment." So I was left with it then, and some energy rose in me to sort it out a little bit, so that it wouldn't just tear more and more. So I got the old fragile. I didn't have duct tape. I had fragile tape for posting pictures and stuff. So I taped around the bit that was pointy that had torn the thing. And then I taped I need to get duct tape, really, that's the thing, isn't it? Then I taped the piece that had fallen off that caused the roof to sag and get torn. Jeez, this is very badly explained. Anyway, the moral of the story is that I kind of did a botch up job. Well, no, I didn't. I fixed it a bit. I fixed it enough that it wasn't tearing. And I felt very good about myself, because the next day I went out and sat in the sunshine on it, and I absolutely love it. I was thinking definitely it's time to go, and now I'm definitely thinking not yet. So there you have it. That's the fascinating story of my swinging seat. It's been in the family now for a fair few years. I think since Lily was a baby, at least 15 years. And I've had a lot of replaced, like every part of it. The seat and the cover has been replaced a lot of times. Right. Something around here now, I think, where the stuff enters the jug. I could do it explaining that a little bit more clearly, and a bit more of a flurry of daffodil. Like, it's fine with the paper with the light through it, but when I put it on there, it's just mustard, isn't it? So I don't think that's going to satisfyingly explain the brightness of the daffodils. I might need to paint to draw the background around them in order to show off their brightness. I might need to draw the background around them. And the other thing is, collage does make things read as being brighter, I reckon. So I'll try that before the background thing. I think I'd rather the bright lemon yellow colour collage pieces. Here's a fluorescent yellow, maybe that's the business. But I need to paint some paper that colour. Let's see if this would work. So if I put some white paper on, and then I'll just put some fluorescent yellow onto that white paper. I mean, it's more of a greeny colour, isn't it, than the daffodils, that yellow. But it's just this desperation to explain the brightness of the sunlight. And sure, how can we replicate that? We can try though, can't we? We can try. Yeah, I have got lemon yellow acrylic. Where is that? Here. No, what about this? I wonder what this would look like. That's what I'm using there. Sorry, I don't know if you can see a thing. That's what is it? It's Dale Roney. Yeah, System 3 acrylic. And I think lemon yellow with the white paper behind it reads as bright sunlight. Something like that. That was sap green ink that I put down the middle there, and it kind of, the stem kind of overtook everything else. So I'm subduing it again now. And I just subdue it further by sticking on a bit of paper over it to represent a bright petal. Now, I'd say what I could do here is draw with my old faithful stick and ink. I haven't used this for a while and I don't know if it's going to work. Let's see. I mean, really, I wouldn't have thought I'd be bringing black in, but it's all kind of nondescript and I feel like I want some clarity. I don't know, am I doing the right thing here? Let's see. They say there is no right, don't they? It's all information. That's annoying. Sometimes that annoys me. No. See, I have a desperation to achieve the brightness of those daffodils. What's this going to do now? This is gold. Doesn't look a bit gold on the paper. I think it needed a better shake. Maybe it's no harm, it might have been a bit impetuous there, sticking gold onto it. Right, what'll I do? You see, I'm keen not to put dark around it, but at the same time I want these to really read as being bright. I suppose the thing I could do, it might seem a bit radical, but we're not averse to radical here, are we? I thought I could maybe tear out that, although I'm liking the edge of the jug. Oh bugger, what'll I do? You see what I could maybe do? Let me just check this out. If I were to put Payne's Grey on that and then tear that out and put this behind it, I'd still have my jug. Look, I'm going to try it. There's nothing ventured. It might mean... Hi! I'm back painting. First day this year. That's Cindy, my next door neighbour. You can see a painting of Cindy actually on YouTube. She came and sat for me in some lovely in a lovely outfit that her husband got her from Trinidad or somewhere. I don't know where it was from. Anyway, if you look up Cindy, you'll see a painting of her from last year. This is weird, isn't it, what I'm doing, but anyway, I'm doing it. I mean, I am kind of looking at the shape of the paper. I mean, the shape of the flowers as I'm cutting them out. But I want to keep the jug shape. You see, I thought I could paint this some other colour and put it there, and that the daffodils might read as oh, it looks awful, does it? I don't know. Here, if I could, I'll keep going with that. Right, so what if I were to put some paint onto this? I'll just put that to one side for now. Leave it sitting in the sun to absorb even more sunshine. And then this is the kind of thing where, in a way, like, it's about being prepared to make a right mess of things. I think that might have already happened, don't you? Right, so for some reason I'm putting PVA glue. Oh, I've just cracked it. I'm putting PVA glue into the paint that was on this brush already. I think the PVA will mean that the paper will be more able to take the colour, because this isn't really painting paper. Oh, I can feel this kind of drop in my belly every so often, like, what are you doing? Oh, she goes. And also there's a kind of, there's something else there too that says that's supporting that one who's prepared for it to really fail, you know. There's a support for that, because unless a risk can be taken, sometimes I might only end up being extra satisfied with myself doing the same stuff over and over, and I don't think I can do that when I'm explaining the freshness of flowers. That needs to have an attitude of exploration, I think. Newness, freshness. Certainly this time of year everything is new and fresh, isn't it? And sure, what it'll do is it'll inform what I do next, I reckon, even if it turns out an awful thing. At least maybe it's just breaking the back of the first painting out here that I need to be able to make it. I keep wanting to say rude words because mess doesn't seem to be enough. Anyway, you get what I mean. Just be willing to lose it. No. So I've done that. Right, what about oil pastel maybe? No, I think I might go for the oil. Oh, I don't know what to do here. I want the edge to be flush with the background there. You're still with me, eh? Fair play to you. I'd say what I might do actually is make up some ultramarine blue, which is the colour of the background there. If I mix that with white and make it a thick consistency, because it's lighter than ultramarine blue there, because it's thinned out and the white paper is diluting the colour. And now I'm going to make it lighter by mixing white with it, but then it's going to be thicker, so that means that I can paint in between the daffodils and maybe make some bit of sense of them. I probably didn't have to tear the daffodil shape out, but you know, I'm just going to stand by that because I wanted to try it, and actually I wanted to see if I would be able to make the daffodils really stand out in the light the way that I see them to stand out. Right, so I'm just mixing off camera now here. I'm mixing the paint so that it's a nice thick consistency, the ultramarine blue. There's something lovely about working, look, I'll show you. There's something lovely, isn't there, about working with nice thick paint like that. So I'm going to use this colour as the background behind the daffodils, and I'm going to let them, gosh, the palette nearly stuck to the paper there, and I'm going to let the background define the shape of the daffodils. So half closing my eyes, I'm going to find the sky behind there, and even, you know, it's in there too in the handle. Will I do it? Because I love that, but I think I'm going to lose what I love just for experimental sake. I love the edge sometimes where the acrylic meets the, yeah, but I kind of like that shape too. That's fine. Okay, so now this feels a little bit more like I'm gathering in and finding a way to explain it, even if it's a bit crude looking still, possibly. I don't know. I'm still kind of happy that I did it. Like, I know it sounds like I'm trying to justify it to you, but, and maybe I am to a part of myself, but I want to not sink into any sort of pattern of doing things one way. Yeah, and I've got a smaller brush too, that if I do want to create something fine with the shape of it, with the blue thick paint, if I want to find, with my eyes half closed again, I'm looking to find shapes in between the daffodils of the background. There's a triangle of background colour here. Really, it's actually quite significantly darker than the blue I'm using, but something in me resisted early on, at least. Maybe when I stand back and look at this I'll change my mind, but something in me early on resisted the desire to use Payne's grey or something deep in tone for the background, because I'm just so delighted with the feel of summer that we've got. I don't want to go putting any sort of greyness on it. Oh my god, I feel like crying. I guess it's in gratitude for spring coming round again. Thanks be to God. Spring springs itself on us. Yeah. So there we have it. There's no Payne's grey or any sort of grey allowed into this picture until I say it. Until I say it's allowed. Maybe it's enough to say it to you. Now maybe I'll launch into it. No, I won't. I'm going to stick with the blue. Okay. There is a kind of a Wordsworth daffodils on a summer's day kind of feel, isn't there, to the dancing blue and yellow together. I feel like that's the case. And there will be some more spring green come in as well as I look at the picture on the camera there on the iPad. Like when I turn around I can see what I'm painting, and that's a helpful thing to have that as an option. Now that's a fierce small brush to have descended to so suddenly, so I'm going back to my 2-inch one in order that I don't get too finicky about the shapes that I'm seeing, and you know, to continue seeing the big picture. I'll continue seeing the big picture. This is where the background meets the edge of that lovely jug. I love that old slapping it on. Sometimes it's the energy of over and that, like finding something to move stuff. I want the edge to be flush with the background, even if it is a stuck on piece of paper. I don't want the edge to be flailing up and about. I want the background to read as background. And daffodils to bounce out at us. Might fling on a bit of water there. Oh, just got some blue on the daffodils themselves there. Oh, see, Maisie's going to start eating something else now. She's not doing too bad, in fairness to her. Spoke too soon. Alright, and underneath the handle, I don't know if I want to do all of that there. Okay, what way is the background? I think it's pretty horizontal. The windowsill. And what about maybe a touch more? I don't know now, is the sap green the one I want to use, but I'm going to try it. Sap green ink. Oh, squirt it out there now. I think I'll just try it with my baby finger, or a few other fingers as well, just to see where would I put that now. I mean, I was going to dance it on, but it's really the stems that are that colour, so I don't think they're going to be fingerprint shape. I feel very much like moving in a light, kind of lively way. Right, will we break open the pastels? What do you think? Here I will. So I've got my box of sweets here. Look at that. That's enough to whet the appetite of anyone. I'm just going to let them sit here now, and I'll see where I might use these colours. I'm going to use my non-dominant hand so I don't get too trigger happy with explaining things, but I do want to find something to describe the dark side of this jug. So I've got a kind of a duller turquoise colour, a deeper tone of turquoise. It's quite a darkish turquoise to sit beside the bright on the handle. And even though there's a reflection of light there, I think I'm going to continue with the dark colour to represent the right side of the jug as I'm looking at it there. And underneath the spout too. How about that? We do have some lovely bright blues as well. And even a fierce turquoise one. As long as Maisie's not digging the garden, I'm okay with her. No matter how noisy she gets, within reason. No. For goodness sake, see when these drop, they go to flower. What am I going to do now with this? It's a green, and I think I'm going to let the edge of it represent the sunlight on these little green flary flowers. And some of the stems of the daffodil are that colour too. Yeah. Still very unknown here. Maybe what we need is a little bit of pattern. I wonder, was I right to follow my instinct with that? I don't think I was really. You know, in the beginning I was going to put that on for pattern. Nah, I won't bother. Oh, goody-doody. You see, I think there's something around expectation here. I had envisaged something clean and bright and lovely, and it's going in a different direction. And it's good just to name that now, and then maybe I can abandon my expectations and just let this be what it is. This paper doesn't really take the chalk that well. It kind of falls off it. Let's see what will happen if I use a clean brush over that now and just try and make a colour with it. Okay. And now I lift off it. I lift it off here where the blue background was. Well, I like that kind of idea. Using the chalk as a way of, you know, using the chalk pastel with water to make it a bit clearer. I'll bring up the ultramarine blue to meet the handle there. And what would I love on for the bottom, I wonder? I feel like I want to put something on the bottom there. And also, what will I do here? What's actually happening is that there's a bright reflection on the jug. That's the spout of the jug there. And the jug has a big belly. I don't like that whole outline though. Just lose it a bit. And remember, I want it stuck down. Remember, glue, stick. I don't want any other edge taking over from the edge that I'm explaining. Now, what are we going to do to make the daffodils be daffodils? I'd say maybe if I had a nice bright colour in the oil pastel, a nice bright yellow oil pastel might just do the trick. This is chalk now and it's white. Just to get the top of the jug bright enough. Right, let's see if there's a... Let's pray for a bright yellow oil pastel, because oil pastel covers everything really. And it would let me make a nice bright, well, certain oil pastel brands, like the Caran d'Ache Neo Pastels, they're lovely and bright. I wonder if I'd be able to find any here now. I think this might just be what I'm after. Let's see. That's a nice bright colour, but the paint isn't dry enough yet. Let's just see if it works around here too. Where the edge of the daffodils meets the blue background. There's white too, I wonder. Oh, goody doody. What I need, if I'm using my fingers as tools, they need to be clean enough. Or else I just need to wipe off enough that the paper peels off and goes back to white. There we are. Okay. And maybe now some yellow over that. Yeah, some come easy. And others are just a bit of a dance. I wonder if I could just let it alone. Like maybe it's enough to have a vague resemblance to daffodils and let it be. This is a kind of a grey green. I wonder if that's a good introduction. That's not a bad colour there for enhancing the brightness on the green by making dull around it. Part of me wanting to stop because I feel like it's good enough. And that part is really wanting to be heard, and I don't know if that is resisting the fine tuning that I actually quite enjoy, or if it's a wise voice that's saying stop, for goodness sake. And of course I could let it alone and come back to it another time. She said, motoring on. This is blue now, that's not unlike the background colour, and it's oil pastel. Payne's grey. Maybe it's time. There's enough brightness maybe that I can allow some dark. I think that might be what was needed. I'm feeling it in my belly. Are you guys looking at it? I think maybe that wee bit of Payne's grey might have been the necessary punch, contrast. Not everywhere now, but just at the edges of the blue sky where it meets the daffodils. Maybe where it meets the bottom of the jug to anchor it down a bit. I was thinking there's no way of changing Payne's grey when it's down, but actually, you know, if it's an oil pastel, but actually there is a way, because I could always just stick a bit of paper over it. That's the joy of collage as well. That's a bit annoying to me, so I'm just going to do that. Christen the walls of the studio too, no harm. I don't know if I want to put anything down there. And I seem to feel like I can't come back to this. It's almost like I want to only be painting it now and let it alone then. There's something saying you can't come back. I'm sure I can come back if I want to. No rules here really. Do you know what I discovered? There is some nice orange. You can't really see the colour of it there, but it's actually the colour of the middle of the daffodil I find it easier to say daffodils than narcissus, so that's what I'm saying. The middle of the middle of the daffodils. Right. I think that's going to work to dance them out a little bit. There's one there. And there's one up there too. And the real papery one. And then there's a trumpet facing out the way into the sky. Somewhere there, I think. And I'm going to put a bit of blue above it. Or maybe even the Payne's grey, but I'll try the blue first. To let that sing out a bit more. Yeah, I'm going to use the Payne's grey there as well, I think. Yeah, and maybe a little bit of the orangey colour could happen over here too. Eventually you kind of start doing what you want, like eventually something that you want to happen, even if you didn't realise it's what you wanted to happen, begins to happen. And that's what's happening here, I think. And there's something about the acceptance of my messiness is occurring for me. I think if it had been a really clean painting, beautiful like watercolour, dancing daffodils, that would have been a lovely thing, and I might have been quite pleased with myself, but it wouldn't have been a true representation of where I am today. I don't know if this is either, but for a moment, not even today, but just moment to moment, like there is messiness, isn't there? In tackling things, or not even tackling them, but just messiness happens. Oh, dearie me. And I suppose, yeah, like the Payne's grey here, it kind of defines things too, maybe, and accentuates the light. I got that this morning from Matt Haig's book, The Comfort Book it's called. He was saying how we're like life is like a river, and really the dark bits where he had trouble like with suicide, he was feeling really suicidal at times in his life, and he said those dark bits now, looking back, in a way accentuate the light, just like the darks and the ripples in the river. I mean, it's a very kind of simplified thing to say, isn't it? Don't mean to sound flippant, but I wanted to give him credit for that word, accentuate. And I think the grey does accentuate the yellow and the sunny petals of the daffodil there, along with the torn paper and the other things I've attempted to use to make the sunshine on the paper. The snow is just a white oil pastel, and it's giving that kind of halo around things. It's the Caran d'Ache one again, like, so these are really good at coverage. They cover really well. And I suppose the thing too in life, and maybe it's alright too for me to overdo things, because that happens too, doesn't it? And unless you go and overdo stuff, you can't really know what would have happened, and another day you can't stop on time, and sometimes there's no justifying it. So I'm going to just stop trying to let myself do whatever I want to do. Just a little bit of definition there again. Where was that colour now that was quite a good colour, wasn't it, that I used on the jug? This is a different colour, but it's darker, and I think maybe what I liked about it was the way it went kind of grainy and stuff when I put water on it. I wonder if this one is going to do similar now. It looks like it's just pure black. I think it's alright though, I didn't put too much on, so it's manageable enough. Just to define that handle a little bit more clearly. But you know, there's something quite pleasing about the texture of the paint over the chalk pastel. It feels a bit like a monoprint or something. So let's see if it would work with that green I used for the stem as well. I don't know if any of you get my newsletter now, if you're listening to this. If you do get the newsletter, thanks very much. If you don't and you want to send me an email, you can look me up online and you'll find my email address, or just leave a comment below, because in the newsletter I talk about sales where I'll be selling this kind of work and other things that I do at home like this on Facebook. And because I sell a lot of them together, they'd be fairly, you know, seriously reduced from the wall price in a gallery. Not that I'd be framing any of these just now, because there's so many of them. Like, when I do get going, I do a fair few, and I've got a fair few inside that I did over the winter in the house as well. So they'll be advertised on Facebook and on the newsletter, and then sold on Facebook for a couple of days around my birthday in April. That's my plan. I like when runs and things gouge their way through. But I'm a little bit disappointed with the lack of freshness in the daffodils, and I think you might need to watch this space, because I feel like I might need to come back to them as a subject to get their clean, beautiful iridescence in the sunlight there. Either revisit in a different painting or keep flogging this horse. Right, in the name of flogging this horse, I'm going to make one last attempt to get the bright cleanness of those petals. And what I'm going to do is use my finger and mix together acrylic paint, lemon yellow and white, and with my finger I'm going to place that down where I see the daffodil petals extending into the light. I'm going to make enough of it and make it nice and clean, so that there's enough there that I can use a few fingers maybe to really make it clean and bright. And there's something too about the edges really being complete shape, not textured really, which is what's annoying me about the oil pastel. I think the fact that it's a texture that daffodils don't have really, the way that I've painted it on anyway. So I'm hoping that the acrylic will give me a texture that daffodils do have. The feeling of that anyway. The issue here now is trying to find a clean finger, or a finger where the paint is dry enough that it's not going to interfere with the new yellow. So wiping them on my trousers, and let's go again. I'm going to peel off that bit of paper and that bit of paper, because that again is a texture that I feel is just maybe a step too far for these little delicate daffs anyway. Later on with the bigger daffodils, I think you can afford to get away with more paperiness. Oh gosh, I'm mixing up the sap green now with my yellows. Maybe that'll work too. Turn this one around and stick it on somewhere else. Like there's a daffodil petal overlapping that green there, so that bit that I took off on that side could work there, especially if I put a layer of yellow over it. It'll stand out a bit more, because there is something papery about them, alright. Like, oh, here's another piece on my finger there that I could use somewhere else, Where would I put that now? I want there to be an interruption of that diagonal stem so that I can sit on top of it. The paint serves to plaster, like lime render maybe, and give the surface some more coherence, the colour, or yeah, just make the colour work better. Make the feel of the daffodil more. I had a swim this morning at Daffodils. I didn't think I'd go in, you know. That's usually the case, I suppose, but I had a couple of swims yesterday in Loch Lomond, up in Loch Lomond on retreat. It's usually a winter retreat we go on. This was the first time that it was in March, and it was surprisingly different. It's on the West Highland Way, the hostel that we stay in, and so there was a lot more action than there usually is. A couple of years ago when we went, it was February and nothing was open, and there weren't many people around, and also the sun wasn't so high in the sky, so we didn't spend as much time outdoors. No, that's not daffodil there, so I'm going to lift off the yellowishness with the paintbrush. And a bit of paper towel if I can find some. I suppose I want to keep the green being green and the daffodil being daffodil. Just paint the background onto that there so that it stops reading as colour of the daffodils. I think in the end I've kind of almost reached what I wanted to do. Almost. Well, what I've almost reached, I suppose, is a satisfied feeling. And it's good that it's almost, because otherwise we'd stop altogether, wouldn't we? But I mean to say, even although I've done it very differently from how I had envisaged, I feel like I have got something of what I wanted of the juxtaposition of daffodil petals and the feeling of dancing in the sunlight, even if it is a bit more like messy than I had expected. Oh, not happy with that. What do I want to put there, I wonder? Nice clean turquoisey colour. Or maybe the old faithful amaretti biscuit wrapper. Not too bright. I've got a slight kind of feeling that this is a bit drawn out and kind of tedious, this video. A bit like how I feel about the painting. Oh, a little bit like that, but I also am quite pleased with myself for keeping the morale up enough and sticking with it. There is something to do with that, isn't there? A lovely man I met years ago said to me, morale really is everything. And he had run ultra marathons and things like that in the desert, and you know, so I think he has grounds to say that morale is everything. Just the tenacity to stick with stuff, I suppose. And you know, maybe sometimes morale involves not sticking with things and just doing whatever it is that'll work for you to keep your show on the road, if you're on or not. But to somehow, you know, still be here. I'm still a bit dissatisfied with that. What is it that I'm wanting there? I don't know. It's not that anyway. I mean, it's okay to have that around here maybe, that colour along that edge, but there's something in me resisting putting it on for the spout. I feel like the spout needs a bit more explaining or something, or maybe some more definition with contrast. Maybe I'll try this. Well, the thing with the alcohol ink is it just flows away. With any ink it flows away. But you know, the torn edge is staggering it a bit, so maybe he's doing what I want. And a bit over there too. Oh, no, that's not staggering, is it? It's flowing way down. Yeah. Still a little bit undecided as to what is going to happen with this here. What's going to happen with that? Put a bit of black ink onto a piece of paper towel, because the thing with that, the chalk actually dries disappointing really. It's not meant to be wet and used as paint, so instead I've just wet some Indian ink and put it over the top of that high flow acrylic I just put on. Yeah, and I think it looks pretty dreadful. Maybe I'll put some more. Was it high flow acrylic, or what about this one? Oh, the blues are coming out now. That's kind of a nice addition, I think. I think it's good to keep track, like, of what it is that there's a certain quality of desperation that really calls for stop. And I don't think I've quite reached that yet. Not in a very clear way anyway, so I'm just carrying on. Yeah. I might just revisit that colour that I put in there, because it seemed to work better than, even if it does dry a shade lighter, or even if it does dry dull, I think it was working to create shadow on that side of the jug. I don't know which colour it was though. It's kind of a dark turquoisey. Was it that? I think it might have been this colour. Yeah, do you see how lovely and dark it gets, and then it kind of gets a bit lighter after a while when it dries, so I don't know if it's going to do that again. But I didn't want there to be a big kind of lightish patch there, because that's not light. And that blue oil pastel maybe will come in and make a bit of sense of the edge of that. one with the flashes of brightness, hopefully. Might need to use paint for those flashes of brightness up there. So, a floating jug of daffodils. Would I put the windowsill in there? And if I do, what'll I do it with? It's a bit of a strange one because the jug sits on top of the windowsill and looks almost like it's floating there. When I put the edge where it actually is. See what I mean? It kind of looks like it's bouncing on there because there's a lighter edge back there. I suppose I could try and paint white paint down from that to create the brightness of the edge. And the same on this side. If I had enough white paint out to be grand. Just to re-establish that edge with a bit more clarity again. It's sloping away from us the wrong way. And like, I suppose I could then put that in front of that so that it reads as though that's the windowsill with the light shimmering on it, and it really, there is a ground underneath the jug there. Where did I put the other bit of that stuff? I feel like if I put some there it might be a bit less weird somehow. An unusual angle enough to be looking at a thing. It's funny there, I'm giving out to myself for sticking with this, having said morale is the main thing. I'm kind of saying, why didn't I just stop? I might look back on it and think, oh, I quite liked it after two or three strokes of the brush. But no. Hey ho, I've continued it, and it's a different animal. Doesn't really matter that much, does it, in the grand scheme of things? Yeah, so I suppose what I could do there now is to bring in some ink to help connect. What about raw umber? To help to connect that with the paper below it. The water I have now is fierce dirty, so I'm going to get a clean thing and put some water, clean water in, and spread out that ink a little bit maybe and see if it works. My blue brush. No, what about if I stick some more of that burnt umber over the wet? See what it does. Bleed a bit more fully into that. You know, if I'm battering it above the table, I might as well batter below the table too, and let it all. Yeah. Honest to goodness, it's a tough one, isn't it? Daffodils. I wonder if I were to put a white bit of paper beside it, if I might think actually it's okay. Yeah, it is all a bit. My goodness, an hour. Yeah, it's all a bit kind of bleh. But it is true actually that sometimes I come back to one that I was really disheartened with at the time, and I notice it maybe a year, 2 years, 10 years later, and find that actually it's not the desperate thing I thought it was. So hopefully that might happen sooner rather than later with this. I might look at it and think, that's quite good. Now, just to end with a bit of freshness, I'm going to reach for the old box of colour again here, and yeah, place some brightness here and there. It's got a nice dark blue. Yeah, I guess the thing is it became a little bit attached to it working out. That brought in a little bit of tentativeness then, that I'm finding that now that I'm feeling like there's no hope for it, I've kind of lost that tentativeness again. And maybe it's letting some bit of light come back through. I don't know, I'm afraid to even say anything about that, but it feels a little bit better anyway to be not so precious. And colour is incredible for changing a mood, isn't it? Colour and music and a bit of a movement, a bit of dance. Cold water, salt water in all its guises, as someone said. The cure for everything is salt water. Sweat, tears, and the sea. Right, what about if I just accept that that's the end of that one, and I won't even look at it, because that'll only make me want, oh god, I've looked at it. I looked at it on the screen. Okay, so there it is. That's what happened with that. It's all a bit messy, but I suppose we do have a feeling of springtime and dancing daffodils there. And I think I'll show you before I end up here now. I think I'll show you the actual Lily, I'm on video here.
Got dance.
Oh yeah. There's the daffodils I was trying to paint. Okay, see you another time. They're not too bad, I suppose.
What?
The daffodils.
The colours look okay though.
It's a bit of a mess, yeah. Okay, see ya. Bye.